We've got a top 4 with our Gimmick Puppet deck, guys. Like,
I'm going to give myself 10 games. For every loss, I've got to run a K.
here we go for the forfeit. Run done.
The deck actually feels so much more consistent.
We've managed to beat Ryziel with Gimmick Puppet.
The amount of times that card just sat in my graveyard when it shouldn't stopped me from doing better than I did. Apologies for the mess on my desk. I'm currently surrounded by Yu-Gi-Oh stuff because I'm trying to get all my stuff sorted. It's Saturday before Locals, so Locals is tomorrow. We've had a couple of deliveries for the Gimmick Puppet deck. Unfortunately, we're missing one of the most important cards with the other cards that I bought. So I bought Foolish Burial Goods ×3, which are in this little sleeve, but the Rainbow Bridge of Salvation I bought hasn't arrived yet, so we might not be able to use it for this Sunday, but hopefully we'll have it for next week. What I'm going to do is Saturday afternoon, Locals is tomorrow, I need to get some practice in with the Gimmick Puppet, so we're heading on to Master Duel, and I'm going to give myself 10 games. Now in those 10 games, for every loss, I've got to run a K. So if we end up going 5 wins and 5 losses, I've got to run a 5K. And I just think that it's like something that can add a bit of pressure to hopefully make me win, because I don't want to go out for a run. It's freezing outside. But let's see how we do, and I will show you the results.
So obviously the decks in Master are a little bit different, but I do kind of want to at least give myself a fighting chance. So we are playing Max C, even though you can't at Locals, just because if you don't play it at Master Duel, you kind of put yourself at a disadvantage straight away. We are playing the Pathfinder, which I think made my deck really consistent, so I'm really hoping that it's going to continue to do so. We're not playing Rainbow Bridge or Foolish Burial Goods because I unlocked all the stuff on Master Duel, but I realised that Foolish Burial Goods is actually limited to 1 for some reason on here. I mean, I'm sure there is a reason, and there's a card that's really overpowered on Master Duel, so that's why. But it does make it a little bit annoying. Like, it's not worth having 3 cards in your deck because you have to have a Crystal Beast when you only want 1 of the cards in your hand, which is the Burial Goods. So I've just decided not to run it on Master Duel, but obviously when we get to Locals, hopefully we'll have more ways of searching out that mansion. Same with Set Rotation and Terraforming that are banned on Master Duel. So hopefully this should actually be the worst version of the deck compared to the real life one. Okay, here we have the results. Game 1 was a 23-turn slog against Skill Drain and Rivalry and stuff, which I need to have a way to play against, but that's side deck stuff, right? So don't have to worry about it now. We ended up going 7-3, which I'm really happy about. Like, if that happens at Locals, gassed. But I do need to have a way of beating things like Skill Drain, Protoss, Rivalry, because it can really, really mess up my deck.
And there you have it. There is 10 games, 7 wins, 3 losses. If that's how Locals goes, I will be ecstatic, but I think we all know that's not what's going to happen tomorrow. That's a 3K run, so I'm going to get changed into my gear, but at least it's just a 3K, you know, it should be a nice, easy one. The deck actually feels so much more consistent, even just playing with Planet Pathfinder, which means that I've got 3 more chances to at least draw into the mansion as long as the Pathfinder resolves. And I think going into the weekend, obviously Terraforming, Set Rotation, they're not allowed on Master Duel, but they're going to be extra things that I'm going to have in my deck for Locals. I just think there's so many opportunities to find mansion that, fingers crossed, I should be able to FTK a lot more than I did last Locals.
Right, here we go for the forfeit. We're just starting the run now. It's 1K down. 2 more to go. Lucky we went 7-3. Can I fight to do 6-7K today? No. 2K done. On to the last K. Run done. We're a tiny bit short. But I just missed time on Strava, so it's all good. So this is actually what it looks like most of the time when I'm sorting out all my cards. It is not the lovely playmat down and sorting out all the decks. No, it's just pure chaos. So here are some cards that I've been looking to put in and out of the deck from last time.
So unfortunately, the Gravediggers is out. It's a funny card, I love it, but it's not good for the deck. Same with Rivalry. I might side it, but for now, it's not making enough of an impact. It's got nothing to do with the FTK, so it's out. And then we're losing a couple of these extra Gimmick Puppet cards just because I just don't think we need that many. And if we draw into too many of them, then it's just going to end up biting us. Last two cards here, Coach King and Coach Lord. I'm debating whether to put these guys in if for whatever reason I haven't found a Rogue Doll, haven't summoned a Rogue Doll, or maybe it's turn 3 or 4 and I've managed to do part of the FTK the first time round but not the second. I'm thinking that I might even be able to summon these guys out, activate this guy's effect a couple of times, overlay, activate this guy's effect, and there's a 38 beta that can do a lot of damage and is unaffected by cards. So I mean, this was actually my original Gimmick Puppet deck, which is why I actually have the cards in the first place. So we'll see. I'm going to try it out on Master Duel for a bit, I think. The only difference to the main deck so far, I've put them right at the back, is the 3 Pathfinders. Now, Pathfinder is good. It's a little bit annoying because it means that when you do end up getting the mansion, you can't get the little soldiers because you've already used your normal. But it does mean you can go straight into the Rogue Doll, pick out Gigantes Doll, and then that's how you can get the little soldiers out, and hopefully that doesn't get negated. But it's definitely a bit more risky, but it's better than not having the field spell at all. Foolish Burial Goods. These cards are going to be very, very helpful to me eventually once the Rainbow Bridge comes, etc. So these probably aren't going to be in the deck for this week, but fingers crossed next week these will have made the cut. Right guys, I've got no time to do much talking before we go. I'm running a couple of minutes late to locals. I've already put a message in the Discord, but I've got just enough time to put some coffee in my mug. But other than that, let's go.
So I left the house and there was actually snow all over the driveway, so I got a little snippet of this, tried to get the car out, failed, so I ended up having to sweep the driveway and struggle to get my rear-wheel drive car off the driveway on a hill in the snow, so I was even later than I thought. So game 1 here today was against Mermail Abystius, and we ended up drawing this first game. I lost the first game, won the second game, and then the third game, there was just not enough time left. We both finished on 8,000 life points. The Mermail stuff is actually much better than I thought. Again, it's one of those old decks where if those decks came out now and those cards were available in new packs, they would probably have once per turn regulations on them, but because they're old, you can just infinitely recycle a lot of these cards. They all have effects in hand, on field, in graveyard. They're really good, so I'm actually interested in learning more about that deck, but game 1, draw. So game 2 was against Dragon Maid / Dragon Link. So they had a big side deck that could make it more Dragon Link or more Dragon Maid depending on what is needed. And this is the first time I've ever been 2-0 against someone, so I won both games. The Dragon Link deck, when I've played it before, is very, very strong. I think the Gimmick Puppet deck does really well going first against it because it does end up having a board with quite a few negates that do end up making it struggle. But we managed to take this one 2-0. I'm happy because it means that even going second, I've managed to win a game. So Gimmick Puppets are not just going first, they can also go second and do bits. So game 3, off the back of a draw and a win, put me in towards the upper bracket, which had me against a Ryzil deck. Now this one was actually Ryzil, Fiendsmith and Bystial, so it was a bit of like a hybrid with a couple of different engines involved. And it was, don't get me wrong, it was really, really annoying because there was almost a way of getting out of any situation that I pushed. So it's really good in that respect, but we ended up losing the first game. Even though I'm pretty sure we went first, we managed to win the second game, and then the third game we won it on time because we managed to get, I think it was, my Cattle Scream had 2,000 attack versus one of his Rizal cards or something that had 1,700. So I won by 300 life points in the last game just before time. So that one took a little while to work out, but I was super happy with myself for like working out the maths equation to end up winning that third game. So we've managed to beat Rizal with Gimmick Puppets, which I'm super happy about. And then finally, because we are 2 wins, 1 draw, no losses, again, we're still in the upper bracket. We're against Matt, and he is playing a pure Rizal deck. Now, pure Rizal is really difficult to play against. I'm still trying to work out how to counter it, beat it, because the only information I've been given through research and talking to the guys at locals is just try and negate the Geo Drive so they can't draw more cards. There's nothing you can really do about the deck summoning rank 4s, so you've just got to try your best. And I don't know if you can see in this replay, but in match 1, I got Fool Lost, and then a little bit further down the line, I got Fool Lost again. So we were double Fool Lost in our going first, so we ended up losing the first game. And then in the second game, we actually had FTK. We managed to draw all the perfect cards to get it, but Matt unfortunately had Nibiru, so it kind of stopped us in our tracks, which is annoying, but it just means that we were 0-2 against this, so we ended up finishing 2-1-1.
Okay guys, sorry, I didn't get to film this morning because I was already running like 5 minutes late, and I put a thing in the Discord so I might be a bit late. And then as I tried to leave my driveway, there was just snow everywhere. My driveway's on a hill, and my car would not go up the hill, so like I had to sweep the driveway, sort it all out, and then I ended up being like 10 minutes late, so I couldn't film anything before locals. But we've just finished, and we got 4th place. We got a top 4 with our Gimmick Puppet deck, guys. Like, I don't even know what to say. Like, the hands were better today. We had our Planet Pathfinder, which made it a bit more consistent, although most of the time it did end up getting Veiled or Ashed or Ogred or whatever. But either way, it's made our deck more consistent, and I have no doubt that next week, when we add in the Foolish Burial Goods, the Rainbow Bridge, it just gives us that many more ways to find the field spell that I've got good hopes about next week.
And there we go, guys. Who'd have thought Gimmick Puppet is getting top 4 at locals? Now, I know top 4 at locals isn't as good as top 32 in YCS or anything like that, but I'm really happy. Like, there were 4 rounds today, so it was, I didn't get any buys, so it was just play. I went draw first game, 1 second game, 1 third game, and then lost the last game. So I'm pretty happy with my performance. I've got a couple of things that I definitely need to improve on. One of them is remembering to get rank up magic out of my graveyard when I special summon an Xyz monster, because I'm not even joking, I think 3 or 4 times today that happened, which I managed to claw 1 or 2 of them back, but actually it's what lost me a couple of the games. There was one where I was playing against Matt, and admittedly he had Nibiru, so it wouldn't have been an FTK because he could have just stopped it at any point. But I had the full line for a perfect FTK, obviously minus the Nibiru, but at some point about halfway through when I summoned out strings, I forgot to get the rank up magic. So I was just sat there with a strings and a CXE's Fantasix, and there was nothing I could do. I was there like, okay, I can put the counter on, but I can't resolve it. I can't even kill the monster, so what am I supposed to do? So I just really need to take that into next week, do a lot of play testing myself, and just making sure that I'm manually doing all these steps, like taking cards out of the graveyard, because that's what stumped me today. Master Duel, flash up, hey, do you want to get rank up from the graveyard? Yes, of course I do. But when you're in the moment, or when you activate something and then it gets negated, but you've got a bit of back and forth and talking, and then you forget, the amount of times that card just sat in my graveyard when it shouldn't stopped me from doing better than I did. So, top 4, fantastic, but it's good that there's still things to work on.